picking up on a male energy. I'm actually seeing an image, like a picture frame in a picture, but it's got a male presence in that picture. So I'm going to go with male.
Yes.
And what I'm seeing is a few kind of distinct things. It's funny. It's like I'm just looking at a picture, almost a cartoon. He's got quite a mustache.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm seeing he's dressed quite formally with a little bowler hat and a white shirt with a tie and a waistcoat and jacket. So I don't know if this is giving away the error or if I'm just putting this together with the picture, but it's like he's got a one eyepiece, like when they have glasses, but it's just the one I don't even know what you call
Yeah,
them.
they
What?
call a monocle. I don't know if he had a monocle, but
Yeah.
in terms of his looks, he certainly does have a distinguishing mustache.
Mm.
And I could imagine him wearing a bowler hat and dressed the way you described.
And I'm seeing him like in a classroom situation. So he's got something like a big board in front of him with things on the board, chalkboard, and he's pointing things out with a pointer and he's turning around and talking to quite a few people.
Yes.
Um, and it just looks almost like a lecturer, or he's certainly got a lot of knowledge about an area.
He
And
certainly, during his life, he did go on to educate people about a particular topic.
I feel like that was very enjoyable for him, that lecturing component. He enjoyed that, or the teaching, the educating.
Yes.
It's like giving me an indication there's phase one and phase two of his career, of his life career.
That's really interesting. Yeah. I would say that has something to do with the timing.
Okay. And as I see him, I've also seen a female several times. So it seems to me like he had a significant partner, a wife, a partner in crime, he's saying. And I'm seeing a couple of little children, but as I'm seeing them, they're quite old-fashioned, like wearing little
Mine
bonnets
too.
um and they seem quite fair-haired and quite sweet. And I'm seeing them as very young, but in quite old-fashioned clothing, like little bonnets and
Yeah, so he did have two very, yeah, he had two young daughters and they would have dressed, yeah, and they would have dressed in those ways.
and they were dressing quite similarly, but they look like they're dressing for the cold. So wherever they are, it's not very warm. They've got little coats, stockings, little
Yes.
shoes, fully dressed with little bonnets. But he feels very proud of his little family, his girls and his wife, and that came up quite quickly. I saw his wife and a couple of little children, but I was trying to decide whether it was two or three. Certainly, he's showing me them as they were very young, and
Yes.
I'm seeing them kind of under the age of three, is the kind of age that they're being depicted in, two children that look very similar in age.
Yeah. About 3 years.
So he lived in a city, showing me it just feels very bustly,
Yes.
a little bit more humble
More
in
modest.
terms of an
Yes.
abode. Yeah, seems more modest. I'm getting something about a nanny, so I think they had a nanny. Not sure why that's important, but maybe just building that kind of family situation. He was very proud of his family. Was a very loving connection. She was a very slim lady. He thought she was absolutely beautiful. That's what he's showing me. She seemed to have fairer hair, a little bit curly. That's what I'm seeing, kind of above the shoulder. Very neat lady as well. And she just had this charisma about her, and a little kind of giggle with what he's showing me, that she was quite delightful. And I'm picking up like a name like Elsie,
His second wife's name was Elfriede, but he called her Fritzi.
Fritzy.
So there's your Elsie. So it's very close.
And
Fritzi,
didn't it?
Elsie.
He could be really fun. They had fun together. I'm seeing him doing a little bit of a dance and, like the um his legs out a little bit and a little bit of the swinging her around. And they seem to have a bit of fun and some good laughs together. And I feel like he had a good sense of humor and certainly brought out the best in him. And he was saying that he had a tendency to be a bit serious, but then everything I see about him doesn't seem very serious. He seems quite um, easy to laugh, good-natured, can hold his own with the gentleman as well. Like he would stand there and he's a good conversationalist. He's a very he's not shy. He's quite he's quite sure of himself. He's just quite relaxed. He's got showing me something weird. When he puts his hands in his pockets, he jiggles them a bit. He just I'm not sure why he's showing me that. I'm not sure if it's a trait that he was known for, but he moves his hands a lot in his pockets. He's got quite a lot of kinetic energy. I feel like even when he's sitting, so he's showing me at school, when he's sitting at a desk, he jiggles his leg. It's like he doesn't actually know how to be really relaxed in his body. His shoulders are kind of up, and when his legs under the table, it kind of jiggles like, okay, let's hurry up and get this over and done with. He's just got all these movements to his body. He's showing me again, just that kind of almost feels like normal family life, like modest home, get him a motor car, leave the house, just quite, particularly after the last couple I've done, just he's just showing me this kind of normal family life because I'm asking him about his life. So obviously there's a life outside of anything that he's done, and maybe he's just building that or showing me that picture that it really was kind of quite a normal family life. He went somewhere where he was sitting at a desk. It feels like when he was leaving to go to work, he's doing some writing, um, sitting at a desk doing writing on some papers. It's kind of important. He's got his own office. It's quite a big office.
He did certainly work in an office space, and his job was primarily he was a wholesaler of herbs, pickling salts and mixed spices.
Right. He's just saying again, businessman. I'm getting an association with canning as well.
There
So
is definitely cans in this story.
cans of tomatoes. I've seen cans of tomatoes. I'm just going to keep saying what I see, no matter how like kind of bizarre, and seeing like stacks of them as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's saying not your normal story, not your normal story.
That's interesting for a number of reasons.
He's saying a little bit of idiocy involved, and I feel like that's on his part that he's saying that, like, you know,
Like he felt like he made a mistake.
yeah, he's saying he made a mistake. He's saying in hindsight, um, he's saying that fateful day.
Yeah.
It's interesting because normally I see visually a lot and I'm hearing a lot of what he's got to say without any visuals to go with it. So
He's
I'm
possibly
going to say
done that because I
what?
suspect that you would recognize the situation if he showed it to you visually. So he's
Right, because that is
trying to keep us honest in this
right,
reading, I'd say. Yeah.
right, because it is very unusual for me not to have the words with an image that I can start interpreting. So it means I'm relying on him, but he's being pretty good at giving me phrases and words. I'm hearing them. So I'll just keep listening to him. Um, one fateful day. It's like he's telling me a story.
There's a
One,
story in this story, funnily
yeah,
enough.
one fateful night. Um,
So there is a book,
okay,
quite a famous book, that retells this story. So he could be alluding to that as well.
okay. What he's also said is like it started and began. I'm sorry, it started and ended like in a short period of time. Something started and ended in a short period of time. Like it was the beginning and the end all at the same time.
Yes, that makes sense for
Okay,
a period.
right. There were mistakes made. And it has to do with, I'm getting the word homicide or homicide. It's to do with homicide. Police worthy incident that's occurred regarding homicide. And he's saying 21 Jump Street. I don't know if that's got relevance.
Is that a
And
basketball movie?
that's a program on TV, the American program on TV, 21 Jump Street.
So interestingly, on 21 Jump Street, it's about two individuals that go undercover. They're police officers that go undercover. So it's got 85% on Rotten Tomatoes.
As I'm seeing him, well, not, I don't know if it's him, but I'm seeing like a detective.
Yes,
And and how I'm seeing that is kind of the big trench coat and the hat, and he just looks like a detective. So I was just saying that, but I'm just seeing one detective. So my thinking was there was a detective involved in this situation.
I can say there was definitely a detective involved.
I guess there would be with like a police incident, but I'm seeing police, and then I'm seeing this kind of a detective just as a single solitary separate figure. He's saying fascinating story. So he just said that fascinating story. I was getting like a vault
There is certainly a vault.
money. I'm seeing like pearls in the vault. What's behind the door?
Does he show you what it look? Oh, he's not going to show you what it looks like. Maybe you could ask him and he could tell you
The
what it looks
vault.
like. Yeah.
Oh, the thing in the vault, you mean?
Uh,
I am
yes, yes,
or the vault door, you mean?
either.
I'm asking, show me the thing in the vault. And
So this wasn't actually a vault, but there was certainly a vault. Well, you've seen it as a vault door. It wasn't actually a physical vault door, but there is some sort of fortress in this story.
so he's in a situation where he is he is the, I don't know if it's like perpetrator or he is the one who's being targeted,
He's
and
being
he
pursued. Yes,
yeah and it's like hiding. It's like he's down
100%. Yeah,
down and he's kind of under his desk and he's hiding, and it's not in a home environment. Doesn't feel like home. Feels like in the more of an office. Can see him kind of crawling along,
that's right.
bending down. So he's
Yes.
showing me he's being very furtive, and he's hiding. Yeah.
Does he tell you who's with him?
But there is like a break-in and someone coming up the stairs is what I'm
There are stairs in this story.
getting.
Yes.
Yeah.
The people that entered this building made a huge mess of it,
Right.
searching amongst other things for him.
Right. I'm just getting him ducking down amongst the desk, but he must have had a good hiding spot. Um, so the people that were looking for him were gangsters, right? Or was that the police? Because I was.
Actually, the police.
Is this a story that that I know, that I would know, like well known enough? Oh, interesting.
It's just interesting how the information, like it's fascinating for me to watch you, well, to witness Spirit deliver this story, this really well-known story to you in
And it
such a way. And
right,
it's almost like he's telling you the story the way that you would understand it in your periphery, like he's taking all the
right,
bits and pieces from your prior knowledge and then splaying them out for you to pull from. And it's just really interesting how he's delivered that and then how you've interpreted that.
right.
Yeah, it's fascinating to watch
Yeah.
actually
Well, I'm
for
going to
me.
be fascinating to hear because it's coming. I feel like always these scenarios are quite drip fed because sometimes things happen, quite quickly, and when you're doing a reading, you get a lot of it can get a lot of information. Whereas I feel like I'm stopping, reaching, pulling, um, trying to extract.
He has been gone for quite some time, and so that's probably possibly why.
He's saying, telling me he's in trouble. And I get the sense that there's like urgency and kind of a bit of, he's a bit scared,
Yes.
and that there's absolutely no way he can get caught. This just can't happen. It's not going to be good. In his mind, it can't happen. Is there actually a picture of him, or is that going to be a giveaway?
Hang on, I'll just share it in the chat for you. You won't know who he is.
No, I don't recognize him. He's saying he was a good guy.
He was?
It was wrongful. It was like the wrong person was being chased or hunted, or you know, saying it's definitely newspaper worthy. Um, Kind of like splashed all over the newspaper. I'm just asking about the mistakes. When he was mentioning mistakes that were made, I'm not getting anything else. I don't know if it's my mind in the
Yeah,
way.
no, that's okay. It's all right. His name is Otto.
Otto. Oh, so is this the guy from the prison, the Jewish camps? No.
He did spend time in a Jewish camp.
He had people, he saved a lot of Jewish people by having them work in his factory. No, not that story.
That's Schindler's List,
Yeah,
but
that's
you're on track.
right. I was
You're
thinking,
on
oh, there's the
track.
cannery and the
On
um
track. Yeah, so he was an economist first, married, had two beautiful children, and was Jewish, moved to Amsterdam to move away from the Nazis,
uh-huh.
where he was working for a company where that made spices and herbs for sausages.
Mhm.
He had a lot of close friends in that working environment and was really well liked. And so when Nazis sort of came into Amsterdam and started arresting people and taking people away to camps, he hid his
Hiding.
family.
Oh, hello. Okay.
He hid them in a secret annex
In
of,
the attic. Okay. I know this is obviously,
it was behind a bookshelf.
yeah,
Father,
Anne Frank's father. Otto Frank, is it then?
that's his name. Yeah.
Okay. The hiding behind the furniture. And I felt like it wasn't in the home. Did feel like it was
And
kind of
I
like,
don't think it, so that wasn't actually their home.
so one of the reasons I thought it wasn't his home, it felt like in a downtown area or quite a busy area, and that it wasn't the first story, that they were up higher, like a up higher in an office block. That was probably the thing. But he was showing me
Yeah, so it
behind
is
a
in his
table.
workplace. The front was for goods and dispatch. Behind it was spice mills. The rear was the ground floor of the annex. And so
Right.
that was the warehouse where goods were packed for distribution. And directly above the ground floor were the offices for Frank's employees. So they were working there. Two of the employees knew that they were hiding in the annex. And so day to day, they were very quiet during the day because all of the employees were working above them. So that
Uh,
two of the employees knew that they were hiding in there and they would actually bring them rations.
right. Yeah, I don't know the story really well. Obviously, it's a famous story. I
But
don't
that,
know.
but that's why you've picked up the office straight away because they were hiding in the workplace. It
Yeah,
wasn't
it
a
was just
home.
funny
They've
and
made it a home
down
because they
high,
had to live there.
and mistakes were made. Wonder what that was about. I made mistakes.
So I think the reason they were discovered is because someone dobbed them in, and it could be something to do with the relationship between him and the person
Okay.
that dobbed them in. I don't know who that was. I think there's been suggestions that it was someone that he knew.
What year did he die?
1980, he died.
Right. So he survived.
Correct.
So he went to a concentration camp and survived.
Correct.
Wow.
He was the only
Only
surviving
one.
family member. So his wife, Edith, she died of starvation and disease in Auschwitz, and Margot and Anne were transferred from Auschwitz to another concentration camp where they died of typhus.
I mean, how long were they in the attic for?
The family was in hiding for 2 years. They went into hiding on the 6th of July, 1942, and then they were discovered in August 1944.
As beautiful girls and him going off to work and just their lovely, normal suburban kind of lifestyle where he's getting in his car and everything just would have been lovely until it wasn't.
So listen
Uh,
to this one. The arrest, so Otto's arrest was made by Karl Joseph Silbauer. He was an Austrian police officer, SS member, and undercover investigator.
okay.
So there's your 21 Jump Street.
And just that one single detective. He's saying no one should ever be put in those circumstances. Um, it's a humanitarian crisis. People shouldn't have to fear for their lives just because of race, creed, religion. The world needs to be more accepting of all types. We should never forget stories like his story, like that, the story for the Jewish people and the nation. We need to keep that dear to our hearts and vow that that kind of scenario will never happen again. He should never have been put in that position. We need to be more accepting of everybody. He's a person just like we're people, just having a lovely family life. And he got a couple of extra years with his family, but not long enough. And in the end, it didn't make any difference. But they were living in fear. They were living in fear. So I just like little dormice. He's really glad that his story or their story is also out there, that it's
Absolutely.
kind of public knowledge and that it's from his daughter, which has touches people's hearts more so they can relate to kind of an adolescent girl or a young girl rather than an adult, and it has more meaning and people can relate to it. Location as well. He likes that that's been left like a shrine to that story in that situation, a human story with a physical location that you can still visit. Um, he likes that as well.
I think there were plans to knock it down at some stage or to redevelop it or something, and he and
Right,
his wife put a stop to that. So
right. Yeah, well, I didn't go there, but I ran out of time when I went to Amsterdam. But uh, you know, it's still so
oh, what were
heavily.
you doing in Amsterdam, Michelle?
I don't want to know. No, actually, I probably one of the art museums, I would say. Is it the Matisse Museum there or the Van Gogh Museum? That's there. That's my thing.
I was curious to see
Probably
whether or not
like
they
that.
were going to give you the vault or whether or not they were going to show you like the Bat Cave or something. You know, you take the book and then suddenly the magical
Right,
bookshelf
right. I
moves and it
didn't.
reveals a secret passageway. Like
Yeah,
I was wondering how that was going to be delivered. So it was
I
interesting that he
know. I
showed you a
didn't
vault.
see
It was really
it
interesting what you
happen.
said at the beginning, though, that he's sort of getting around with, chalk and educating people about it because he was doing, to some extent, some lecturing
Right.
to promote the book because he published the book.
Right, it was him that published the book.
That's right. So after the war, they re-entered the annex and he picked up all the pages, and it seemed as though um, the Kaiser had actually removed everything because they were Jewish. They'd confiscated everything because it now, belonged to the state because they were Jewish. And so he went through and found all the diary papers and put them all together. Or actually, it might have been the woman. That's right. Actually, I remember now. I'm telling fibs. The woman. So he had two confidants in the house that were here as employees, and one of them, her name was Miep, I think. I wondered if that was your Ned. And she entered the annex after the police had left or the investigator had left and picked up the diary pieces and hid them. so
Right.
that they wouldn't find them. And then when Otto returned after the war, to find his family and everything, she gave him the
But no wonder there
diary.
was two phases as well. That makes sense as well. Um, but he was proud of that work he did. So I feel like he felt like that was his life achievement work.
Absolutely.
That was the first thing he showed me. Well, one of the first things he showed me was the doing the lecturing, the showing, the like I'm educating in a like classroom or that kind of scenario. So maybe that was what he ended up being most proud of.
Well, in short, I should say to fight against prejudice and discrimination, respectively hatred against people of different race and religion.